Good evening and welcome everyone. So this week is Shabbos Matos Masei. It is a very special Shabbos. It is Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, at the beginning of a new month. And it is a Shabbos that we're going to complete the fifth book of the Torah, Shabbat Chazak. And Rosh Chodesh, the first day of Menachem Av, is actually also the only Yortzeit that is mentioned in the Torah, and that is the Yortzeit, the day of passing of Aaron, the brother of Moses, Aaron HaKohen. So the topic we're going to discuss today is about leadership, leading with heart. When leadership means feeling the pain. What does it mean, the true leader? What makes a true leader? And we're going to learn also how leadership is something that we can all apply to ourselves, not only to Moshe, not only to Aaron, but each and every individual, each and every one of us. We can be a true leader and an effective leader. And how do we become an effective leader? You know, when you see the Chabad people outside in the streets, and approaching people, excuse me, are you Jewish? Would you like to put in tefillin? Giving people the Shabbos candles. You know, overall, we get different kind of reactions. I mean, overall, it's a very warming and a very welcoming reaction. But the question is, why do we do it? Why do you impose yourself, intrude yourself into somebody else's life? Live and let live. Why do you bother me if I'm Jewish? I'm not Jewish. And yet we do it. There's a reason why. And so we're going to discuss this by first analyzing something that Rashi tells us about the dividing of the land of Israel to the Jewish people when they first came after 40 years in the desert. The Jewish people finally arrived at the Jordan River, and then, before they entered the land of Israel, it was divided between the 12 tribes. And as we'll soon see, that it was divided not only between the 12 tribes, but was also given portions to each family. And the way it was done through the leaders of the tribes, the Nesi'im, the princesses of the tribes. So we're going to see inside, we're going to look inside, and we're going to come up with, ask some questions about them. So let's begin. Okay, I hear that the audio is low. Or is it good? Is it just by one person? Give me the thumbs up if you can hear me well.
It's good, Rabbi Cohen. Everything is good.
Yeah? Okay. Hopefully you can hear all well. Thank you, Laser. Okay, so let's see inside. So here we read in this week's Torah portion, after the Torah describes the borders of the land of Israel, and the Torah then tells us how the land should be divided. It says, so we read in verse 34, chapter 34, verse 17, Eile Shmot Anashim, these are the names of the men who will inherit the land for you. Elazar the Cohen, and Yeshua, the son of Nun, Yeshua bin Nun. And then verse 18 it says, and take one prince from each tribe to help you acquire the land. It's basically also linchol et haaretz, means to inherit the land. But basically that's what it means, that the prince of each tribe, in each tribe we choose a prince, and that prince, he's going to inherit the land for the people. And then it goes on with listing the names. These are the names of the men for the tribe of Yehuda, Kalev the son of Yefuneh, and it goes on. So what exactly happened? When we're talking about dividing the land and inheriting the land of Israel, then how did it work? So we learned back last week, we learned about the special lottery that took place. And Joshua, Yehoshua, and Eleazar, who was the high priest, he was the son of Aaron after the death of Aaron, they were in charge to make the lottery. And the way it worked, they wrote on pieces of paper 12 portions of the land of Israel, and then there was all the other 12 pieces. There was written the names of the tribes, and then each leader of a tribe would pick up a note and will pick his name of his tribe, and the portion that he got in the land. And it was also done in a miraculous way, that the lottery also proclaimed that this tribe is going to come out and this portion is going to come. It was a miraculous event. You could see in that event how the land of Israel was God given to the Jewish people and to each tribe their share. So that we know what Yeshua did, and we see that the tribes, the leaders of each tribe, they picked the notes, as we're going to see in the next text that we're going to read. Let's see inside. So what was the role of the tribal princes? Says Rashi, that we learned last week in Rashi. The names of the tribes were inscribed on 12 slips, and the 12 territories on another 12 slips, and they mixed them in a box, and the prince of each tribe placed his hand inside and drew out 2 slips. In his hand came a slip bearing the name of his tribe, and a slip inscribed with a territory designated for it. Okay, so that is quite clear, that the people chose the princes. They chose by lottery and by God the portions that each tribe as a whole received. But in this week's Torah portion, the verses that we just read, that who will inherit the land, the princes of the tribes, that they will inherit the land for the people. Here, Rashi gives us a different explanation. Rashi and the verses that we just read. So let's see what Rashi says. Look at this. He says, "Who will inherit the land for you?" That's the quote from the Torah. For you means on your behalf. Each prince was an administrator for his tribe to divide the tribal inheritance among families and individuals. He chose a suitable portion for each one. So in other words, what Rashi is telling us here, that in addition to the general choosing by the lottery for each tribe, what portion in the land of Israel will they get, there is also an individual choosing that the leader of the tribe chose for each particular family. You are getting this lot, you are getting this property. Each and every one, they will inherit the land on behalf of each individual. And that is something we didn't know before. And this is something unique because it doesn't really say clearly in the verse that this is what happened. But Rashi, the commentator, says that this is what happened. And we're going to explain why. Where does it take it? That this is exactly the process that took place. And Rashi says, we cannot translate for you as to you. For in that case, the text would not read inherit land for you, but bequeath the land to you. The word inherit in chalu, it doesn't say in Hebrew, it's in English it's hard, the translation is really hard in English, but in Hebrew, there is a difference when you say yinchalu or yanchilu. Yanchilu means I will give you a portion. I will bequeath the land to you. Yinchalu means that I inherit it. So when we're saying that the princes of the tribes, Yinchalu, they will inherit for you. What does that mean? That means that they became in your place and they inherit on your behalf, on each individual's behalf. So the word inherit implies that they inherit for you on your behalf and in your stead. As in the passage, God will wage war for you. So the question is now, why was it done that way? So why did the princes decide which plot of land each family receives? Why were the people not trusted to choose land that suits their needs? I mean, you have we don't want government to solve our children's social problems. Why do we have here the involvement that the princes of the tribes, they were the chosen, they were the leaders, and they will decide what land is good for us? Why would it be that way? Why not let the people decide? Let the people choose. Yes, and we understand we're talking about a big nation, 600,000 people, and but there could be suggestions. I like to give in request, which land would you like, and let's see if we can accommodate you or something like that. But we don't see that. We saw that here was something that the people, the leaders would choose for us. And the question is why? We can figure things out for ourselves. We want to live our own lives. Thank you very much. Who wants a nanny state? A nanny state. You heard of a nanny state? Here's a writing by about a nanny state. No thanks. From heritage.com. So it says Michael Frank. So he writes as follows. So right, shortly after taking office, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher delivered a memorable speech in which she popularized the term nanny state. She warned She would not expect the state to appear in the guise of a loquacious companion at every stage of life's journey, an unknown mourner at every funeral. So former President Reagan agreed. Government, he once observed, exists to protect us from each other. Where government has gone beyond its limits is in deciding to protect us from ourselves. Indeed, the insidious notion that government is obliged to look after us from cradle to grave lies at the heart of many policy debates, now roiling the waters in Washington, D.C. and in state capitals. Examples of nanny states in government known best legislating have long provided fodder for late night comedians. It's amusing when lawmakers enact certain inconsequential limits on our freedom, such as banning cockfighting or bear wrestling matches, barring drivers from strapping feeder to the roof of the car, and proposing government programs to prevent people from falling out of their beds. So again, I think you get the point. And again, the point is, why do we need it? So to answer this question, let's first try to figure out something else. How did Rashi know about this additional mission, this additional task, or the role that the tribe's leaders took place? Again, let's recap. We mentioned that the leaders of the tribes, which is stated clearly in the Torah, is that they picked a raffle for each tribe, what part in the land they will get. But then we said, Rashi says, no, in addition to that, there was something else. There was an additional role, acting almost like a nanny state in choosing each particular family to their portion. And the question is, how does Rashi know that? Where does Rashi take? How did Rashi know about the prince's additional role beyond drawing lots for tribal land inheritance, when the verse only mentions inheriting the land? And the answer to that question is because when the Torah mentions these leaders, when the Torah mentions about the dividing the land by the leaders, the Torah mentions which names, you remember? Elazar, the high priest, and Yehoshua, Joshua, the leader. Now, none of them, not Elazar, nor Yehoshua, were leaders of a tribe. They were not the leaders of the tribes. They were not to inherit the land. I mean, Elazar, you can argue, was leading the tribe of Levi, but the tribe of Levi didn't get their portion anyway. Yehoshua was from the tribe of Ephraim, but he wasn't the leader. He was the leader of the Jewish people, not the leader of that particular tribe. So why does the Torah mention those two names? And that the Rebbe explains. This is what convinces Rashi to read into this verse. If these names are mentioned in connection with the dividing of the land of Israel by the leaders of the tribes, it is because there is something about them, about these two leaders. And these two leaders have some leadership quality that is unique. It's not just a public appointment. And the Rebbe is going to explain that there is two elements to the leadership of the leaders of the tribes. What are the two elements? Number one, they are appointed leaders, meaning they are acting on behalf of the people, making the big decisions. But then there is a second quality. There is a second element of the leadership of these leaders is that this is a spiritual leadership. It is a godly, divinely appointment. God appointed those people with a divine appointment that they become the heads of those tribes. And they will be the ones that will choose as heads. They will choose for each individual, not just making the policy in general, but choosing individual for each and every one. This is what the Rebbe is going to explain, the difference, these two elements of these leadership. Says the Rebbe, there are two distinct elements to the tribal prince's role to provide for his tribe. Number one, he was the proxy of the Jews in his tribe to provide all their needs. Like you have a governor of a state, he will go travel to Washington to lobby to make sure that his state gets what they need. A mayor of a city will make sure that the city gets what they need. The leader of the tribe, he will be making sure whatever the tribe needs, they'll get their needs. It's interesting, and it says when the Jewish people they were traveling in the desert, they had the water from the well of Miriam. As you remember the story, there was the rock that was traveling alongside with the Jewish people, and the rock provided water. Now the rock provided the water, but now each leader of the tribe was in charge of making sure that the water gets to their camp of their tribe. They would draw a line in the sand and all the way to the place where their tribe is camped, and the water would travel to their camp. And that is the role of that part of the leadership, caring for the general needs of the tribe. That's element number one. But then there is element number two. Number two is he was the divinely ordained leader appointed by Moses. Divinely ordained leader. It's not just a leader representing the people. He was divinely ordained. God appointed Moses as the leader of the nation, succeeded by Yehoshua, whom Moses appointed as leader at God's behest. And similarly, God, via his instruction to Moses, ordained each tribal prince the leader of his nation. So that's the second element of the leadership. It is the divinely ordained leadership. So the role number one is just like compared to an elected appointment. And role number two is a spiritual leadership, divinely ordained, and that as the spiritually ordained leader by God, he's worrying not just to the public needs of the tribe, but he's connected with each individual person, member of his tribe, their personal needs. So the princes were divinely ordained leaders who channeled God's leadership. And the Rebbe continues. His role as a proxy of his tribe is primarily to worry about the communal needs of the collective. This is consistent with a custom in every country where people gather to appoint leaders who provide for their general needs, while each individual provides for their own personal needs. However, his role as a Jewish leader by divine ordination also pertains to the needs of the individual. He's not just the leader of the collective, he is the leader of every individual. All right, so far is understood that this is the difference between the two roles of the leadership. And these two roles, we see it in the verse itself. As you remember what we just mentioned, you have in the verse 18, we're gonna look inside again into the verses so we can see clear. Okay, here's the verse 18 is, take one prince for each tribe to help you acquire the land. That is the leadership, the role number one. Each one is a leader representing the tribe. But the godly ordained is in verse number 17. Number 17, the verse says, these are the names of the men who will inherit the land for you. Elazar the Cohen and Yeshua the son of Nun. Well, they were not the leaders. Why are they mentioned here? To teach us that the leaders of the tribes have the same quality as Elazar and Yehoshua. That they have the same role as godly ordained. As we continue now, the Rebbe says, the words inherit for you, which refers to the tribal princes, appears in the same passage as the name Elazar and Yeshua. From this, Rashi inferred that the prince's role in the land distribution reference in this passage was related to the leadership capacity they shared with Elazar and Yeshua. God explicitly appointed Elazar and Yeshua to administer the land allocation. This was a new appointment separate from their roles as high priest and national leader. The same is true to the tribal princes. God gave them a special appointment related to the role as responsible for the personal concern of their constituents. So, and the question is, why is that necessary? Okay, why is it really necessary? Why do we need a Moshe, a leader, spiritual leader, to choose for us? We're adults. We know what to choose. We know what to make the right decisions. Isn't that lowering ourselves, that we need to have somebody else to choose for us? And to understand that, we need to understand the motivations of the princes. This might help us appreciate their involvement. What motivated the princes to be so much involved is when we understand their role. In other words, when a Jewish leader gets involved in the personal affairs of a person, of an individual Jew, it is because the leadership of a Jew, a Jewish leader, is a godly spiritual leadership, as we find by the first original leader, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, we will see what the Torah says about him, that Moshe and Israel, the Jewish people, are one entity. Moshe is Israel, Israel is Moshe. What does that mean? Let's see it inside and we'll explain. Yeah. So again, the question was, why would the Jews accept intrusive involvement in their personal lives from divinely ordained leaders? So here is Rashi mentioned about there was two verses in the Torah that we learned a few weeks ago. That there is an episode that the Torah where something that Moshe did is credited to the Jews, and something that the Jews did is credited to Moshe. And Rashi wonders why the Torah conflates the two, and he explains that Moshe is Israel and Israel is Moshe. This teaches us that the leader of the generation is the entire generation. For the leader is everything. So what does that mean? What does it mean that we're saying that a spiritual leader, a Jewish leader, is everything, the entire people? Moshe is Israel, Israel is Moshe. What are those words? What does it mean? What that means is that we may be different in body, but in the soul we are really one. You see, everything originated. The neshama, the soul of each of us, originated from the very first neshama, the neshama of Adam Arishon. Adam's soul, it says, he had a soul that was inclusive. It was a general soul that it had in it all the neshamas, all the future souls. As the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, that his soul was generally divided to 613 parts. And they came down and they were subdivided to individual people. That is the neshama of Adam, a general soul. It is later on, it was transferred, incorporated into the soul of Yaakov, Jacob, who was the third of the patriarchs, the father of the 12 tribes. And subsequently, that kind of soul, which is a soul that contains within it every Jewish soul, that was consequently given to every Jewish leader of each generation. In every generation, there was the leader of that generation, and that leader possesses this type of neshama, a very general neshama. Let's see the words in the Alter Rebbe, the way he says this in the Tanya. Says the Alter Rebbe, all the souls in the world were initially incorporated into the soul of Adam, the first human. Adam's soul differentiated into 613 general soul segments, corresponding to the 248 limbs and the 365 sinews in the human body. And of course, we know this is also the same division of the mitzvos, the commandments. There's 248 positive commandment and 365 negative. Each segment is subdivided into endless number of specific soul sparks. These comprise all the souls of the Jewish people from the days of our patriarchs and the 12 tribes until after the coming of Mashiach. At that time, the prophecy, the number of Jews will be like the sand of the ocean that cannot be measured or counted, for they are numerous. That will be fulfilled then when Mashiach will come. Know that Yaakov's soul was also comprised of all the Jewish souls from beginning until end. And in fact, Yaakov, that neshama, goes to every generation. And if you take the word Nasi that we just read today, we spoke about the Nasi'im, the leaders of the tribes, or the leaders of the people. The word Nasi has the acronym of Nitzotzo Shel Yaakov Avinu, which means a spark of our father Jacob. So the leader of the generation embodies the collective soul from which all individual Jewish souls emerge. So Rabbi Nata Shapira in the 1500s, 15th century, he writes, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince was called Nasi. We call him Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. In the Talmud, he's called Nasi. Why? Because it is an acronym for Nitzotzo Shel Yaakov Avinu, a spark of the patriarch Yaakov. This is by the mystery of reincarnation. So this is the reincarnation of the souls. The souls of each leader is reincarnated in the soul of Yaakov, the soul of Adam, the soul of Moshe. That's all reincarnated in every generation. Now this is a fact that we know. Many stories are known and told about this concept that the leader of the generation is the neshama klal, is the general neshama, and that is why in our generation we have the Rebbe. And there's many stories of the Rebbe, how the Rebbe sensed the pain of a Jew in the other end of the world. There's a story, I don't know if I told that story before. There is rabbi first in Holland. There's a shliach in Holland. I believe it was in the 1960s. When he first came to his location in Amsterdam, so shortly before Pesach, he received a phone call from the Lubavitch headquarters. Rabbi Charakov was the Rebbe's personal secretary. He says to him that the Rebbe wants him to take shmura matzah, and he told him to go to a certain town and to deliver the shmura matzah there to the Jew over there. He asked, what is the name of the person? So Rabbi Charakov says the Rebbe didn't give a name. Bear in mind, this is before Pesach. He's getting ready for his first Seder in Amsterdam, and He doesn't know where to go, and it's a far place, it's a far drive. But when the Rebbe says, you go, he takes his car and he drives down. It was a few-hour drive, and he gets to and he comes to the town, and he's asking people, if is it Jewish people, any Jewish people there? No Jewish people in this place. He looked all day long. Finally, he was about to go back home. He stops at a gas station, and the person at the gas station told him, yes, I think there is a Jewish person. He told him in a butcher store. And he goes and drives there to the location that he told him. And he walks into the shop. And as soon as the person sees him, he turned pale and he almost fainted. And when he got back to himself, Rabbi Force gave him the Matos. And this Jew tells him, listen, he tells him that he is a son of Holocaust survivors. It was in the 1960s. And his parents, his mother, ran away to this town where there are no Jews. She wanted to be in a safe place, running away from all the problems. And obviously she didn't get any Jewish education there. But the mother, before she passed away, she begged him to keep his Yiddishkeit, not to betray his faith, and not to marry outside of his faith. And he tried for many years. He says, for the past few years, the priest in this town kept bugging him. Come to us. See, there's nobody here. Come to us. Convert. You have a good life. Start from new. Nobody's answering your prayers. Come. And it was again and again, week after week, month after month, year after year, years like that. At one point, he broke down. He says he doesn't have anybody. He decided to do the unthinkable, to go and convert. And he went to the priest and he told him that's it. He decided to do it. But he needs 3 days. Deep inside his heart, he felt it was wrong. He says he needs 3 days to think about it. And he prayed in these 3 days. He turned to God. He says, God, if you don't want me to do what I'm about to do, just show me a sign. And he basically gave an ultimatum until that day, 6 o'clock. At 5:55, Rabbi Forst walks in with a pack of matzah shmura from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So the Rebbe felt the pain of a Jew in the other end of the world. That is an neshama klolis. That is a general soul, a soul that is of a leader that he feels is really one with everybody else. So when a Jewish leader comes and he sends someone to help you in your personal life, it's not coming in helicoptering and to change your life. It is because he feels you. He feels your pain. And when the foot hurts, the brain feels it. When a Jew hurts in the other end of the world, the head, the leader, feels it. And what is the litmus test? What is the litmus test that God gave to the first leader, Moshe Rabbeinu? So we know the famous story with Moshe. When the Moshe Rabbeinu was a shepherd, and one day there was a goat that was running away from his flock. And Moshe Rabbeinu chased after the goat to save that individual goat. I'm going to read it inside from the Medrash. So here's from the Medrash. It says, when Moshe and Moses, peace upon him, shepherded Jethro's sheep into the desert, a goat broke away, and Moshe chased it until it arrived at a shady area. When it came in the shade, it found a brook and stooped to drink. When Moses arrived, he said, I didn't know you were running because you are thirsty. Poor you. You are tired. He carried the goat on his shoulders and walked back to the herd. God observed, if you have the compassion to provide for sheep that belong to a human, I swear that you will shepherd my sheep Israel. So this is why, when we're talking about the needs of the people, caring for the needs of the people, that is the needs of the leader himself. He feels the pain. So when he approaches, he feels that he does it because of love. The princes were involved in their tribe members' personal affair because they genuinely cared. Their collective souls enabled them to feel the pain of their people. So in other words, Moshe Rabbeinu had a collective soul that included all the Jewish people. The leaders of the tribes, they also had the collective neshama, that they felt the need of the people. That's why it is the second part, the second element of their leadership is the godly, divinely ordained leadership. It is the neshama leadership that they sensed and they felt and they were connected to each and every member of their tribe. So that is true to the leaders of the Jewish people. What does that have to do with me and you? And here comes the Rebbe and says, you know what? Really? Each and every one of us has that kind of leadership. Because at the end of the day, as we just read, where does our neshama originate from? It originates from the general neshama. Meaning that in the root, in the source, in essence, we are one. Except that we come to this world and we are separated into different bodies, but truly, deeply, we are one. When we are able to lift ourselves up and realize that we are truly one, we become also leaders to the people that we get in touch with. Meaning, not that we are higher than them, we become their leaders and they are the followers. No. We become one. And therefore, when you see a Lubavitcher boy running outside in the street and asking a Jew, are you Jewish? It's not intruding into their privacy. On the contrary, it is filling their need, that their need is my need. It's not just that I can check off, oh, I put another Jew to fill in. It is when the other Jew is lacking that mitzvah, I feel the pain. So I truly want to help another Jew. I want to help him truly. I had the mashpia, the famous mashpia, Rabbi Mendel Futterfass. He was a Russian Jew. He was dedicated his life to help people. In Russia, he was arrested. He was in the gulags for many years. And when he came out in the 60s, 70s, he came to visit here in New York to visit the Rebbe. And the Rebbe then came out with a campaign, the Tefillin campaign. And as a Chassid, he was a very elderly Jew. But as a Chassid, he followed the Rebbe's instructions. And he goes on the mitzvah tank, he goes to Manhattan, stopping people in the street. Excuse me, are you Jewish? But the problem was that he didn't speak a word in English. He spoke only Yiddish and Russian and Hebrew. But he approached people. And he knew that those words, excuse me, are you Jewish? And the person says, yes. So he says to them, he looks at him and says, I Jew, you Jew. I tefillin, you tefillin. And those words that came out of his heart just melted. The people just agreed and they put on tefillin. It is that sense of responsibility, that sense of loving brotherly love, that sense of being one. Now, when I come to you to put on tefillin, it is something that I do it out of the sense that I feel that you are a Jew just like me. We all have come from the same God. We all want to do the same mitzvah. We all want to be connected. And that's why so many people, yes, we do get different reactions, like I said before. Some people say, leave me alone, let me leave and let live. But on the most part, people do react positively to it because they feel that it is something that comes from deep in the heart. Let's see what the Rebbe says here about what this means to us. Every Jew has the ability to feel such deep capacity for another that their need becomes one's own. Says the Rebbe, a leader is not just someone we obey and follow. A leader is everything. If the leader is everything, it follows that leaders regard all Jews equally. Our sages of blessed memory taught that God tested Moses to see if he was worthy of Jewish leadership by gauging his regard for the sheep that ran away. Paying attention to the sheep in the herd doesn't prove we're a faithful shepherd. Only when a sheep flees the herd and we do our best to pursue and bring it back, do we prove that we are faithful shepherds. When we regard the sheep that breaks away the same way we regard those always afoot, it proves that we are faithful shepherds. This demonstrates that Jewish unity is most pronounced within Moses because the leader is everything. The leader regards all Jews equally. What is true of Moses is a lesson for every Jew. It is explained in many places that there is a spark of Moses in every Jew. Accordingly, everything that it says of Moses is a lesson for every Jew. If there is a spark of Moses in each of us, we should be able to follow the guidance of Moses' spark in us. This also relates to what we learn from Moses about loving our fellow Jews. We should regard all Jews the simplest and the most profound, the wandering sheep and the present sheep equally as Moses did. We do our best to encourage every Jew to do one more mitzvah out of love. Yeah. So every Jew can tap into the spark of Moses within, evoking a deep love and concern for all Jews, inspiring them to do more mitzvahs and draw closer to God. That's why we do this. And that is why it is something that everyone should do it. I just want to finish with a crazy story, but a true story. And it's a story told by a Jew by the name Benjamin Feld, a Jew from Arizona. And he was with a newborn son in a hospital. And something was terribly wrong. And the doctors, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was wrong. And so he asked the Rebbe a bracha. And a few days later, Rabbi Groner called. And he says the Rebbe answered that there is no room to worry. Everything is okay. He says soon he promised to pray at the Ohel, at the Tzion of the previous Rebbe for a blessing. 2 days later, the doctors told him that your son is completely, perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong. And he literally saw the miracle in his front of his eyes. And he decided to take a trip to come to the Rebbe and to thank the Rebbe personally for the blessings. So he came. It was 19, I believe 1972. It was the Rebbe's 70th birthday. And he participated in the Farbrengen. And after this was right a few days before Pesach, and the Rebbe gave him private audience. Back then, people were able to see the Rebbe privately. And the Rebbe, he thanked the Rebbe, and before he had a chance to thank the Rebbe asked him, "Would you carry out a mission for me?" And he says, "Sure." And he tells him, "I would like you to deliver matzahs." Again, a story with matzahs. I would like you to deliver matzahs to Tyler, Texas. And he was like, "But I'm going back to Arizona for Pesach for the family." And the Rebbe says, "Yeah, but can you do that?" He says, "Yes." I'm sorry. So the Rebbe told him to go in. The Rebbe didn't tell him directly to go to Tyler. The Rebbe told him to go into the secretary, Rabbi Charakov, and he'll tell him what the mission is. And Rabbi Charakov told him, the Rebbe wants you to deliver matzahs to Tyler, Texas. And that's what he told Rabbi Charakov, but I'm traveling to Arizona. So Rabbi Charakov takes the package and he says, "Should I tell the Rebbe you don't want to carry out the mission?" He says, No. I'll do it. And he takes a package and he starts making phone calls. Now he has to travel to Arizona, but now he has to first travel to Tyler, Texas before Pesach. And he makes phone calls back and forth, and it was mission impossible. He couldn't find a flight to Tyler. Nobody heard about Tyler, Texas. And at the end of the day, he needed to go to the airport to fly back home. He had no choice. He was very, very disappointed. He had the matzahs with him, and he goes on the plane and he goes to Arizona. Nobody couldn't get a flight to Tyler. Mid-flight, he hears the captain and the flight saying, "There is engine trouble, and they're going to make an emergency landing in Tyler, Texas." He heard that. He was like, couldn't believe it. He realized, and he goes down They go down, they deplane in Tyler, Texas, and it goes out to the airport, what's called lobby or the terminal. And as he goes out in the terminal, there was a Jewish couple runs over to him, and they say to him, "Do you have something for us from the Lubavitcher Rebbe?" He says, "Sure, here are the matzahs." The Rebbe somehow needed to deliver some shmura matzahs to some Yidden in Tyler, Texas, and he found his way. If he needed to divert a plane, he diverted a plane. So this is the leadership. This is the leadership of our leaders that are connected with us, one with every neshama. But as we said here, it is not just the leadership of our leaders, it is the leadership that the Rebbe knows that each and every one of us has. We just need to work a little harder to find the opportunities. We look for opportunities in our lives. Where is it that we can connect? Where is it that we can find another neshama that is part of us? And doing so, Bezrat Hashem, we'll have the leadership of the Melech HaMashiach. This will be very soon. We should all be redeemed from the Galus and to lead us all in Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. Thank you all for joining. Any comments or questions, we're more than happy to take them.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hello, hello.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hashem picked the leaders because of the Israelites that came out were originally slaves from like it was kind of like it would be better to have leaders instead of like because maybe not everybody had the same mindset after coming out of Egypt.
Well, it was definitely a process. Like the saying goes, it's easier to take the Jew out of Egypt. It's harder to take Egypt out of the Jew.
Right.
So that was definitely a process. But we are now in the end of the process. Everything what we went throughout the years, throughout the exiles, and as the Rebbe says, now is the time where each and every one of us, the fact that we have the opportunity, the fact that we have the internet, the fact that we have all this technology today, to be able to spread Yiddishkeit, to be able to reach so many people instantly in so short time, that means that it is a mission for us. That's what we need to do.
Do you see it echo with the Jews that came out of the Soviet Union? Do you think that
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
like it's important to have like a good spiritual leader for the Jews who are kind of scattered and lost?
Whenever the Rebbe spoke about the Jews in the former Soviet Union, you could see how this was something that was so deep in the Rebbe's heart. Throughout the years ever since the Rebbe left Russia, he never really left Russia. He always had a network of Hasidim and Shluchim reaching out to keeping the Judaism alive.
It's a good for the future, right? It's like echoing into the future. Like the Torah has like every section kind of echoes through history. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Anna.